Hey guys, this is Nathan over at Brutal Parts. Today we're going to talk about how to bypass the idle valve on your Kawasaki Brute Force. This one here is a 2008, but this is going to work on any of the EFI models from 8 all the way up to 2024, 2025. Now, why would you want to bypass the idle valve? Anybody with cams knows that they don't idle. They don't idle well at all. In fact, every time you stop, they want to shut off. It just can't keep up, and it makes it difficult to ride. So all you got to do to bypass the idle valve is loop the hoses back to themselves on the throttle body, and then there's an adjustment on the side of the throttle body. It's kind of difficult to get to, but we'll go over that. So let's get to it.
Pow.
All right, now that we have that side cover removed and you have access, you can see your idle valve. This is your idle valve. We have one cap on the top. We have one cap on the bottom. You need to cap those off. I believe they're about 3/8 inch. And then this, it could probably be capped. I don't think it matters. I have it still attached to the airbox. This tube here is for the map sensor. You need to leave that attached and run it back down to the map sensor on your throttle bodies. I'll go ahead and pull the airbox out. That way we can kind of take a look up underneath and see what the throttle body setup looks like. Now, lifting up your airbox, you have two 10mm shoulder bolts. They look like the clutch cover bolts, but they have a taller shoulder. Disconnect this tube right here on the front. If you're not running snorkels, if you're running snorkels, you got a whole nother mess. You know what to do. Pull that stuff apart. Wiggle it, work it loose. You always want to be careful, and just like how I have forgotten, you got to disconnect the hoses. If you go snatching on these things, they're going to snap those nipples right off, and you'll end up needing an airbox or having to make a repair. Also, up underneath, you have hoses. You have your drain hose, and you have the air temp sensor. You don't want to go pulling this stuff out too roughly, otherwise you'll damage that connector. My airbox, we have a aftermarket, well, it's Yamaha, but we have a breather box that we made a bracket for, and it really helps with the oil blow by going into the airbox and then burning it off. So that's what this hose is here. I need to disconnect that. Now we do have this bracket available. It will hold the Yamaha stock air breather. It will eliminate all or 99% of oil blow by in the airbox when you're running these brutes hard. Now you have access to your throttle bodies. Let's take a look at what we've got. So you're going to have these two capped off with a 3/8 nipple plug. You can put a clamp on it if you want to. I don't think you need to. And where these would normally go is to the throttle body on this location and this location. You don't want trash, moisture, water, whatever getting in, so just run this hose back to itself, or cut another hose if you need to, whatever you got to do. You could probably just cap these off, but we have these linked together and it seems to idle just fine. Now you are going to need to set the idle manually since you are no longer using the factory idle valve. That is done on the left side underneath the throttle cable. We'll walk around there and take a look. All right, back over here. It's going to be tough to see. It's up underneath the throttle cable. You see that little dab of red paint? That's your idle stop screw. Loosen the 10mm jam nut, and you have to get in there with an Allen wrench and slowly adjust it. It's kind of a challenge because you're leaning over this hot exhaust pipe right underneath the throttle body. You need the machine running, that way you can actually set the idle, and you want to do it while it's warm, not cold. One more thing I wanted to point out, sometimes depending on the year, the model, there will be a small breather vent hose going into the side of this throttle cable chamber on the throttle body, and that'll be going up to the side of the air box. I wanted to open this up, that way you can take a look and see kind of what you are adjusting. That way it might help with painting the picture. So on the inside, that really tough to see screw, it's just pushing on the backstop plate. Now sometimes this will wear out. It might push down or kind of roll over that little tab, and you may need to adjust accordingly. So that's another thing that you could do. Now, one thing you want to try to avoid is adjusting the idle strictly by the throttle cable. What ends up happening, I've noticed, when brutes are adjusted in that manner, is the idle will want to take off when you steer the handlebars one way or the other, and it doesn't make for a good situation, especially in an emergency when you're trying to pull over or stop. So the best way is to adjust it based off of the stop screw and not the throttle cable. All right, that's how you bypass the idle valve. And don't forget, install in the reverse order.